The house felt too quiet without Sarah. My wife had been gone for nearly 3 weeks on a corporate assignment in Seattle, leaving me alone in our suburban home with nothing but echoing rooms and late-night takeout. At 30-2, I thought I could handle the solitude, but the silence had started to press in, heavy and restless. When the doorbell rang that Friday evening, I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find Evelyn, Sarah's mother, standing on the porch with a small overnight bag and a warm, familiar smile. "Hi, Ryan," she said softly, her voice carrying that gentle concern I'd known since the day I married her daughter. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd check on you. Sarah mentioned you've been on your own for a while now." I invited her in, grateful for the company. We settled in the living room with cups of tea, talking about work, the weather, and how Sarah was managing on the West Coast. Evelyn was 50-2 but carried herself with a graceful ease that made the years seem irrelevant. Her dark hair fell in soft waves, and her eyes held the same quiet intelligence I'd always admired in Sarah. As the evening deepened, the clock ticked past 10. Evelyn glanced toward the windows and then back at me. "It's getting late," she said, "and I don't like the idea of you rattling around in this big house by yourself. Why don't I stay the night? The guest room is fine." I hesitated only a moment before nodding. That would actually be nice. "Thanks, Evelyn." We shared a simple dinner of pasta and salad, laughing over old family stories. When it was time to turn in, I showed her to the guest room, but she paused in the hallway, looking uncertain. "Ryan, would it be strange if we just shared the master bed tonight?" Her cheeks colored slightly. "It's silly, I know, but the guest mattress is lumpy, and after everything, it'd feel better knowing you're not alone in there. We're family. It doesn't have to mean anything more." My pulse gave a strange little jump. The request felt intimate in a way that made my skin warm, but her tone was so practical, so maternal, that refusing seemed rude. After a beat, I agreed. We changed separately. When I slipped under the covers, Evelyn joined me moments later, wearing a modest silk nightgown that whispered against the sheets. The bed felt smaller than usual. I could smell the faint lavender of her lotion, feel the subtle shift of the mattress as she settled beside me. The room was dark except for the faint glow from the hallway nightlight. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then her hand found mine beneath the blanket. Her fingers were warm, tentative. "Ryan," she whispered, "you've been so strong holding everything together while Sarah's away. I worry about you." I didn't pull away. Her touch sent a confusing ripple through me, comfort laced with something sharper, more dangerous. My heart beat harder. I told myself it was nothing, just closeness born of loneliness. She shifted closer, her shoulder brushing mine. Her breathing was soft and steady against my neck. The silence stretched, charged and delicate, like the air before a storm. "You're trembling," she murmured after a while. "I'm fine," I managed, though my voice breaking point out rougher than intended. Evelyn turned toward me in the dark. I could feel the warmth radiating from her body, inches away. Her hand remained in mine, thumb tracing a slow, soothing circle that made it hard to think straight. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "it's okay to let someone take care of you, even if it feels complicated." The word hung between us, heavy with unspoken meaning. I swallowed, caught between the safe familiarity of family and the sudden, insistent pull of something else. Her face was so close, now that I could see the faint shimmer in her eyes, the way her lips parted slightly as if waiting for permission she knew she shouldn't ask for. Neither of us moved for what felt like forever. The tension coiled tighter, a hesitant temptation either of us dared name. Seemed raced with guilt and longing in equal measure, Sarah's trusting smile flashing behind my eyelids, yet Evelyn's gentle presence anchoring me here, warm and alive in the quiet night. Finally, she let out a soft breath and rested her forehead lightly against my shoulder, not quite closing the last fragile distance. "We should try to sleep," she whispered, though her voice trembled with the same uncertainty I felt. I nodded, unable to trust my own words. But as the minutes slipped by, her hand stayed in mine, and the space between us hummed with everything we weren't saying. The night was only beginning. The days that followed carried a fragile new rhythm, one laced with glances that lingered to long and silences that felt heavier than words. Evelyn never brought up that night again, not directly, yet I caught the subtle shifts in how she looked at me, soft, searching, as if she were trying to read something written between the lines of our ordinary evenings. She moved through the house with the same quiet grace, but now her presence hummed against my skin like static before a storm. One humid summer evening, the three of us gathered in the living room after dinner. The windows were open to let in the warm breeze, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden. Sarah curled up on the couch beside me, her head resting lightly against my shoulder, while Evelyn sat across from us in the armchair, legs tucked beneath her. The television murmured in the background, but none of us were really watching. "You've been smiling more lately," Sarah said softly, tracing idle patterns on my arm with her fingertip. Her voice held a playful lilt, but her eyes held something deeper, something curious and unafraid. "Is it the new project at work? Or is there something else making you this happy?" I felt the heat rise in my chest. My gaze drifted to Evelyn, who was watching us both with a gentle, knowing smile that made my pulse quicken. "Having both of you here," I answered honestly, my voice low, "it just feels right, like everything finally clicked into place." Evelyn's fingers tightened slightly around the edge of her teacup. She set it down and leaned forward, the soft lamplight catching the warmth in her eyes. "We've come through something complicated," she murmured, choosing her words with care, "but I think it's brought us closer. Don't you agree, Sarah?" Sarah lifted her head, meeting Evelyn's gaze without hesitation. The air between the three of us thickened, charged with everything we had carefully left and said. "I do," she replied, her tone steady yet tender. "I see how you look at him when you think him not watching, and I see how he looks at you. It doesn't scare me the way I thought it might. It feels like we're all circling the same quiet truth." My breath caught. I reached for Sarah's hand, intertwining our fingers, but my other hand moved almost of its own accord, brushing lightly against Evelyn's knee where it rested near mine. The contact was brief, barely there, yet it sent a shiver through all three of us. No one pulled away. "I never wanted to come between you two," Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling with restrained emotion. She didn't move her leg, letting the warmth of that small touch linger. "But being here, seeing you both, it stirred feelings I thought I'd buried long ago. Feelings that make me want to protect this us more than anything." Sarah's free hand found Evelyn's, completing the delicate chain. For a long moment, we simply sat there, connected by touch and unspoken understanding. The hesitation in the air felt electric, tempting us toward a closeness that hovered just beyond the edge of what we had always known as safe. My heart pounded with the dangerous sweetness of it, the way Sarah's breath quickened against my neck, the way Evelyn's eyes dark and with longing she didn't quite voice. "We don't have to rush anything," Sarah said at last, her words a soft anchor, "but I don't want us pretending anymore either. Whatever this is, let's face it together. Slowly. Honestly." I nodded, throat tight, my thumb grazing the back of Evelyn's hand in a gesture that promised restraint even as it hinted at surrender. The night deepened around us, the breeze stirring the curtains like a secret shared only among the three of us. When the time-breaking point for me to leave for the week's long business trip the following morning, the goodbye at the door trembled with layers I hadn't anticipated. Sarah kissed me with quiet intensity, her fingers lingering at the nape of my neck in a way that made the air between us feel impossibly thin. Evelyn stood just behind her, so close I could feel the shared warmth of their bodies drawing me in. As I pulled Sarah into a final embrace, Evelyn's hand brushed mine light, deliberate, charged with every unspoken promise we still held trembling between us. "Take care of each other while I'm gone," I murmured, my voice rough with emotion. "We will," Sarah promised, her smile soft and sure. Evelyn's eyes met mine over Sarah's shoulder, holding a promise and a plea all at once. "Come back to us soon," she said gently. "The house feels different when you're not here." The drive to the airport blurred beneath the weight of that moment. Yet even miles away, in the sterile quiet of the hotel room later that night, I could still feel the echo of their touch, the hesitant pull that bound the three of us tighter than before. The distance only sharpened the longing, turning every ordinary thought back toward home, toward the two women who had somehow become my entire world in ways I was only beginning to understand. And somewhere in that quiet ache, I knew the real negotiation was the one waiting for me in the boardroom. It was the delicate balance we were building together, fragile and beautiful, trembling on the edge of something profound. The days that followed wrapped us in a quiet kind of magic, the kind that grows slowly when no one is rushing to name it. Every morning I woke to the soft clink of dishes in the kitchen and the low murmur of voices, Evelyn's, warm laughter mixing with Sarah's gentle replies. They had fallen into an easy rhythm together, two women who had once circled each other with careful politeness, now sharing secrets over coffee like old friends. I told myself it was enough. More than enough. Yet every time I caught the way Evelyn's eyes lingered on me across the table, something inside my chest tightened, warm and dangerous. One humid summer evening, the three of us sat on the back porch after dinner, the sky bleeding into deep violet. Fireflies drifted between the trees like tiny stars come down to watch us. Sarah leaned her head against my shoulder, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my arm, while Evelyn sat across from us in the wicker chair, barefoot, her sundress slipping just slightly off one smooth shoulder. The air felt thick, heavy with the scent of jasmine and something sweeter, unspoken. "I've been thinking," Evelyn said softly, her voice barely louder than the crickets. She didn't look at either of us at first, her gaze fixed on the darkening yard. "About staying longer than just a visit." Sarah lifted her head, curious but calm. "Do you mean moving in? For good?" Evelyn nodded once, then finally met my eyes. The hesitation there, the careful way she held herself back, sent heat curling low in my stomach. "I know it's a lot to ask. I don't want to complicate what you'd have built, but being here, it feels like home in a way nowhere else ever has." I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. The memory of that charged night weeks ago still lived under my skin, the way her hand had brushed mine while reaching for a glass. How we'd both frozen, breathing the same warm air, neither of us pulling away until Sarah's footsteps sounded down the hall. Nothing had happened. Nothing we could name. But the almost had left its mark. Sarah reached over and took Evelyn's hand, her touch gentle, reassuring. "We love having you here, Mom." "Truly. But would have to be careful. All of us." The word careful hung between us like a promise and a warning at once. Evelyn's fingers tightened around Sarah's for a moment before she let go, her gaze sliding back to me. In the dim porch light, her eyes looked darker, deeper, full of questions she didn't voice. That night, after Sarah had fallen asleep beside me, her breathing soft and even, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet except for the occasional creak of old wood settling. Then I heard light footsteps in the hallway, pausing just outside our bedroom door. My pulse skipped hard. The knob turned slowly, and Evelyn slipped inside, wearing only a thin silk robe that whispered against her legs as she moved. She stopped at the foot of the bed, one hand resting on the wooden post. Moonlight painted silver across her collarbone, the curve of her neck. I cowled in sleep. She whispered, "I keep thinking about what I said earlier, and about how close we've all become." I sat up slowly, careful not to wake Sarah. The sheets pooled around my waist. "Evelyn, I know," she breathed, cutting me off. Her voice trembled with the same restraint I felt tightening every muscle in my body. She took one step closer, then another, until she stood beside me, close enough that I could smell the faint lavender of her skin, feel the warmth radiating from her. "I know we shouldn't, but sometimes I wonder what it would feel like, just for a moment, to stop pretending there isn't this pull between us." Her fingers hovered near my shoulder, not quite touching, the space between us crackling with everything we refused to name. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure Sarah would hear it. I wanted to reach for her. I wanted to pull her down into the dangerous warmth of the bed and see how long we could both hold onto control. Instead, I clenched my fists in the sheets and whispered, "We made promises. All three of us. This seat in there, whatever this is, it could break everything beautiful we're building." Evelyn's breath hitched. For a long, trembling second, neither of us moved. Then she leaned down, her lips brushing the shell of my ear so lightly it might have been imagination. "I'm not asking you to break anything tonight," she murmured, voice husky with longing. "I just needed you to know I feel it too. Every time you look at me like that. Every time we're in the same room and the air gets too heavy to breathe." She straightened, the silk of her robe sliding against her skin with a soft sigh. Without another word, she turned and slipped back out the door, leaving behind only the faint trace of her scent and the frantic rhythm of my pulse. I lay back down, chest rising and falling too quickly. Sarah stirred beside me, murmuring something sleepy and sweet as she curled closer. I wrapped an arm around her, holding on like an anchor while the rest of me still burned with the almost meanest touch, the almost confession, the almost finesse surrender that had just passed between us in the dark. The next morning, the three of us moved through the kitchen like nothing had shifted. Yet everything had. Evelyn's glances carried new weight, shy and knowing at once. Sarah's smile seemed softer, more aware, as if she sensed the invisible current running beneath our ordinary routines. We cooked breakfast together, shoulders brushing, laughter rising a little too brightly to cover the tension humming just below the surface. Weeks blurred into a delicate balance of restraint and closeness. Shared dinners where knees touched under the table and were not immediately withdrawn. Quiet evenings on the couch where Evelyn's head would rest against my shoulder while Sarah rested against hers, the three of us breathing in sync, hearts beating in a fragile harmony. No one crossed the line, but the line itself had grown thinner, more inviting, trembling with every shared glance, every hesitant touch that lingered half a second too long. One rainy afternoon, while Sarah was out running errands, Evelyn and I found ourselves alone in the living room. The storm pattered against the windows, cocooning us in gray light and the warm glow of a single lamp. She was folding laundry, and I was pretending to read a book I hadn't turned a page of in 10 minutes. "Ryan," she said quietly, her voice carrying that same vulnerable courage. She set down the shirt in her hands and looked at me, eyes shining. "I don't regret saying what I did that night. But I also don't want to lose what we have now. This strange, wonderful thing the three of us are creating. It's terrifying and beautiful all at once." I closed the book and stood, crossing the room until only a few careful inches remained between us. Rain drummed steadily outside. Inside, the air felt electric. "It scares me too," I admitted, voice low. "How much I look forward to seeing you every morning. How hard it is to remember why we have to be so damn careful when you smile at me like that." Her lips parted on a shaky breath. We stood there, hearts racing, bodies swaying imperceptibly closer, the pull between us almost magnetic. My hand lifted, hovering near her cheek, close enough to feel the warmth of her skin but not quite touching. 1 inch. One decision. One moment that could change everything. The sound of Sarah's car pulling into the driveway broke the spell. We stepped apart, breathing hard, eyes locked in silent understanding. When Sarah walked in, shaking rain from her hair and laughing about the weather, we greeted her with open arms and genuine smiles. The secret current still hummed beneath the surface, stronger now, sweeter, more dangerous. That evening, as the three of us settled onto the couch to watch an old movie, Evelyn sat between us. Sarah rested her head on Evelyn's shoulder. I draped an arm along the back of the couch, our fingers occasionally brushing Evelyn's hair. No one spoke of the almost minus kiss, the almost minus touch, the almost thin fashion still echoing in the spaces between our heartbeats. We simply existed there together, warm, tangled, trembling on the delicate edge of something deeper than any of us had planned. The rain continued outside, soft and steady, washing the world clean while inside our little home, something fragile and exquisite kept building. Sometimes, when I sat quietly watching Evelyn and Sarah bustling about in the kitchen, I would feel an overwhelming warmth and sense of security inside. These were my family, the most important people in my life. Gradually, the relationship between the three of us had gone beyond mere kinship and become that of true family. We cared for one another, supported one another, trusted one another, and were building a brighter future together. One night, as I lay in bed on the edge of sleep, Sarah drew close and gently embraced me, her breath warm against my skin. She whispered softly in my ear, "Ryan, I'm truly grateful that you cherish our family like this. It's your tolerance and understanding that have made the relationship between the three of us so beautiful." I pulled her nearer, holding her tightly, and murmured, "Sarah, it's your tolerance and understanding that have made our family so harmonious. I will always cherish our happiness and work hard to make our lives even more fulfilling." Just then, Evelyn's voice drifted from outside the door, soft and inviting. "Ryan, Sarah, are you still awake? I've boiled some hot milk for you, come drink it." We shared a lingering smile heavy with unspoken warmth and slipped out of the bedroom together. The three of us settled close, bodies brushing in the quiet glow, arms wrapped around one another as we savored the sweet, steaming milk, letting its warmth spread through us alongside the deeper comfort of simply being together. In that moment, a profound peace settled over me, laced with a slow burning ache of longing. The three of us were each other's most important family, the most precious part of my life, trembling on the edge of something dangerously intimate. I believed that as long as we stayed this close forever, we would surely create an even better future. I lay there in the soft glow of the bedside lamp, heart still racing from the way Evelyn's fingers had lingered just a moment too long against my arm earlier that evening. In the hush between heartbeats, with their warmth surrounding me, I realized this was more than temptation. It was the slow, inevitable bloom of something deeper, a connection that had grown from shared vulnerability into a quiet, trembling devotion. We were three souls choosing each other, again and again, and the night, rich with unspoken yearning, was only beginning.